From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Library of Congress. I'm John Cole. I'm the director of the Center for the Book in the Library of Congress, so I have a great job. I get to promote books and reading and help in programs where we give recognition to young readers in particular, and we have a wonderful day ahead of us. As you know, this project, which is a National Book Festival summer reading program, is called A Book That Shaped Me. And today, we're going to hear from finalists and other winners who are going to read to us. We're going to learn what books they read, and we're going to have a chance to hear from the winners a little bit and some of the finalists. So you know a little bit about the contest. Not only does it come out of our big National Book Festival, which is held every year, it's going to be held from now on in the Convention Center in Washington, D.C., but it also is a cooperative program with libraries in our whole area. It's administered through public local library systems here in the district, Maryland, Virginia, Delaware, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. And you are all here representing your states, and that's a wonderful thing for the Library of Congress. Lots of people don't realize that we are not only a huge national library, but we're also a public library. We are open to the public, and we also have a new, relatively new office aimed at you. It's called the Young Reader Center, and it opened in 2009, and there's a real heavy requirement. 16 or under, accompanied by an adult. And it is in the Jefferson Building, and I encourage parents and kids to learn more about it and to take advantage of this wonderful public library function, and you will learn what goes on there. One final word about how our finalists were all selected. This was done, again, in a complicated way. There's something called the American Library Association that has a committee that really took the first look at the letters and the essays that were submitted. And they are the ones who passed them on to yet another committee, which is how we work in this world. And that committee included educators, children's authors, and some members of our Library of Congress staff. And so all of that is resulting in having today the people who are being honored, and will get certificates, and we will then hear letters from the grand prize winners at the end of our program. First of all, though, I'm very interested in the history of the Library of Congress, and just for my information, I'd like to know how many people are here for the very first time. If you've never been to the Library of Congress, now that is quite a high percentage, and so I guess I can double my welcome, and you'll remember that it's a public place that we want you to visit again and again, and that would include the Young Reader Center. Okay, historical lecture is over. I now would like to introduce, well, I'll say one more thing. The librarian, we're the Library of Congress, but I've already told you we're open to the public. And the Librarian of Congress is appointed by the President and confirmed by the Senate, which does give us kind of a special status. And our Librarian of Congress, his name is Dr. James Billington, and he couldn't be here today, but I'm sort of standing in, and so I want to make sure I mention his name so I don't get any trouble, okay? We got it. Now, I'm honored to introduce the person that you will hear the most from today and see the most of. His name is Fred Bowen. And Fred is a Kids Post sports writer for the Washington Post. And if you look at the back page of the Post, you surely are learning Fred's opinions on many, many different subjects, sometimes related to sports, sometimes related to things that Fred thinks that all of us should be learning about. but I highly recommend Fred's writing and his column in the Post. Fred is going to read the names of the winners, and then he will be the one at the very end who interviews the grand prize winner. Two more people to introduce. Lola Pine from the Office of Communication is the manager of this year's contest. Lola, will you stand up? And her assistant this year has been Corey Freeman from the Library Services Office. So let's give them a round of applause as we begin. And now I'd like you to welcome Fred Bowen. Fred? I forgot to mention that Fred has written a lot of books himself, so slip that in, so I don't want him to feel that I missed that point either. I'm just trying to stay out of trouble today. You see that? That's what a master of ceremonies does. So far, so good.
All right, good afternoon. My name's Fred Bowen, and that's right. I've actually written 20 kids' sports books that combine sports fiction, sports history, and there's always a chapter of sports history in the back. And they're for kids 8 to 12 years old, so you should all go out and get them. And I also write a kids' sports column for the Washington Post. But today, I am just delighted to be among so many kids who love to read and write. I currently make my living as a writer, but I used to be a lawyer. Don't leave. But I was a lawyer for 30 years, and I know that from being a writer and a lawyer, that if you can write, it helps you in almost anything that you do. And that's really the idea behind this contest, a book that shaped me. That is that you get shaped by a book, and you write about it. And then good things start to happen. And I'll say a few more words about the contest before we started. As John mentioned, we asked students to write a one-page essay about a book they felt shaped their lives. They had to write the essay themselves, take it to the public library, turn it in, and enter the contest. And as John said, these were judged by members of the American Association of School Librarians. And then later, there was a panel, a smaller panel, of which I was a member, that judged the essays. Now, are there any other members of the panel here who could be recognized? I don't see particularly Maria, but there were about 4 or 5 of us, and we judged the essays. We received more than 200 entries, and today we will bring you the 30 finalists and state winners and our 3 grand prize winners. And the 3 grand prize winners will read their winning essays from the stage. Now, I'm going to read the names of the finalists by state, and Lola will hand them their certificates as they come up on the stage. Now, before I read the names, I want to apologize if I mess up anybody's name, because as someone who has been introduced as Fred Bauer, Fred Bowen, Fred Brown, and Frank Bowen, I can tell you, you can be a very successful writer if somebody messes up your name. So, but I'll give it my best. The first group is going to be from Washington, D.C. Helena Bello from Tacoma Park Library. Christian G. Harold, Tacoma Park Library. Pasha Isha, Georgetown Library. Cassie Young, Tenley Friendship Library. And the district winner, Kalina Sloat, Cleveland Park Library. There may be a couple of pictures taken today. All right, I'm just warning you. All right, the next group is from Maryland. Here we go, everybody line up. Cora Jackson, Prince George's County Library. Ashley Price, Dorchester County Library. Natalie Truba, I don't believe she is here, but we wanted to announce her name. She is from Prince George's County Library. Bryn Yates, Dorchester County Library. And the Maryland winner, Isis Marks Hamilton, Enoch Pratt Free Library. All right, very good. The next group is from Virginia. Caroline Antonipoli, Arlington Public Library. Gavin Dent, Roanoke County Library. Raquel Mondo Hanna, Arlington Public Library. Udev Mutakana, Prince William Public Library. And the Virginia winner, Anand Kalukan, Arlington Public Library. The next group is from Delaware. Madeline Degners, Newcastle County. Huda Kosei from Newark Free Library. Brendan Lewis, Dover Public Library. Lucy Verlacque, Newark Free Library. And the Delaware winner, Sudha Anil Kumar. Now, here are the finalists from Pennsylvania. Amelia Cook, York County Library. Carissa George, Free Library of Springfield. Bryce Greco, Hazleton Area Library. Colton Stelzer is not here, but he's from Westmoreland County Library. And the Pennsylvania winner is Audrey Gem, Butler County Library. And finally, the group from the great state of West Virginia. Addie Hughes, Martinsburg, Berkeley County Library. Beth Nichols, who is not here, she's from Rowan County Library. Emma Samples from Southern Area Library. Zula Stanger is not here, but she's also from Southern Area Library. And the West Virginia winner is Finian Mungovan from Martinsburg Berkeley Library. All right, let's have one more big round of applause for all the winners. And I hope all of them will keep reading and keep writing. I read all the essays, and you all did a great job. Now we will present the awards for the grand prize winners. John Cole will introduce them, and then I'll ask them a few questions after they read their essays.
Thank you, Fred. Now, Fred was your name, right? Yeah, it's good. Now we will present the awards, as Fred said, to the grand prize winners. And I would like to invite first to the stage from Arlington Public Central Library, Caroline and Tony Paley, who wrote About Matilda by Roald Dahl. Caroline, would you please come up? Caroline is the third place grand prize winner and the Virginia State finalist. Let's give her a hand. You can go right ahead.
It is bad enough when parents treat ordinary children as though they were scabs and bunions, but it becomes somehow a lot worse when the child in question is extraordinary. The child in question is Matilda, and not only does she have a big part in her story, she has had a big part in mine. How, you wonder? Reading Matilda gave me a new perspective about how different families work. Secondly, Matilda showed me a stronger reader, which inspired me to start reading more. One last way Matilda shaped me is that she is self-motivated, and seeing that helped me to do the same. Your life is yours. No one life is the same as another, as I see in the world around me and in Matilda. Matilda's parents are very self-centered, resulting in them having no time for Matilda. At the end of the book, Matilda's mom shows this by saying, "Why don't we let her go if that's what she wants? It'll be one less to look after." Reading Matilda showed me that sometimes the situation isn't so great at home. I figured that everyone had parents at home to support them, so it gave me the perspective to better understand how kids without parents to support them live and feel. Matilda is very fond of Charles Dickens. He makes her laugh a lot, especially Mr. Pickwick. It was funny to see a 5-year-old reading Charles Dickens without having been in school yet. When I read the book, I thought it was cool that she was so good at reading, and all the other kids were amazed at what she could do. I originally didn't want to read books above my grade level because my teacher didn't want us bringing other books into school. But when I read Matilda, I felt like it would be okay to read more challenging books. Once I read Matilda, I started trying higher books. It became really fun for me, and it has shown me a lot of really interesting books. It is easy to follow a lead, but it is challenging to be different and create your own motivations. Matilda always found it easy to be motivated. In the book, she solves all her own problems. For example, when her dad says she can't get a book, telling her, "We've got a lovely telly with a 12-inch screen, and now you come asking for a book?" She finds the library herself and goes to it. She also solves a problem when she figures out how to get rid of the Trunchbull, the Prince of Darkness. I had no idea that reading Matilda would later help me understand the importance of being self-motivated. Books can shape people in many different ways, from altering your thinking to changing the way you act. Matilda has encouraged me to read more, think differently about families, and be more self-motivated. I've read a lot of books, but there are very few characters that I actually connect with. Matilda is one of them. I feel like she is growing up with me, talking about new books, and still having a big influence.
Well, first of all, that's a wonderful reading. Are you going to be an actress? I think you could do it. Let's see, now, why do you think you identified so strongly with Matilda?
Well, Matilda was one of the first books I read, so I probably just found that when I was little, I had strong connections with her because we were about the same age when I first read the book.
Oh, okay. All right. And you said the book made you see families differently. Now, without giving away any family secrets, maybe how did it make you see your family differently?
Well, I feel very lucky to have parents that really love me and brothers and sisters.
Wasn't that a softball question for you? That was so. I've done you a big favor. All right. Now, you say you're a big reader. What are you reading these days?
Well, I love The Land of Stories, and I like the Sisters Grimm series, and I really like fantasy and fiction.
All right, terrific. That was wonderful. Thank you very much.
Oh, metal, right.
You get in the middle.
Okay now? With Gavin Dent, Roanoke County Public Library, who wrote about Omaha Beach and Beyond, The Long March of Sergeant Bob Slaughter by John Robert Slaughter, please come up. Kevin is the second place grand prize winner and also a Virginia State finalist. Let's give him a hand.
I often wonder what my classmates think about when the Pledge of Allegiance is said in school. When people go to the grocery store and see the American flag flying in the parking lot, what does it mean to them? Do people notice the older man at the restaurant wearing a hat that says World War II vet on it? After reading the book Omaha Beach and Beyond, The Long March of Sergeant Bob Slaughter by John Robert Slaughter, I think of the brave veterans of World War II almost every day. This book made me realize how his generation of men have affected my life. This book is about Mr. Slaughter's personal account as a soldier in the D-Day invasion on Omaha Beach, France during World War II. Mr. Slaughter wrote, quote, "Time changed for me at that moment, and my life would never be the same. I feel none of our lives would be what we know it if it were not for what Mr. Slaughter and the other soldiers did. And I am thankful for these men every day." Mr. Slaughter also wrote in his book that he and many of the men did not like to talk about their experiences. They felt like they did what they were expected to do and were not heroes. But there are heroes in this world, and we might see them every day without realizing it. This book has intrigued me to learn more about history and the world around me. I am aware of more than school, friends, and video games. I have become active in my community and in the 29th Infantry Division Association. I am grateful for other members of my community, and I am proud of my community and country. I strive to have the character of these humble and brave men. Reading this book is why I stand proud to say the Pledge of Allegiance. If I had not read this book, I might not think of the battles our flag has been through. This is why when I see a veteran in the store or park or anywhere, I hold out my hand to shake theirs and say thank you.
Gavin, that was wonderful. Now, I was curious when I read the essay, did anyone in your family serve in World War II?
No.
All right. Did you know anyone who?
Yes.
Yes, who was that?
I know.
All right. Now, what about, you mentioned the 29th Infantry Division Association. Could you explain a little bit more about what that's about?
The 29th Infantry Division Association is an association that helps current and former members of the 29th Infantry Division and their families.
Oh, all right. And you said you've become involved with them.
Yes.
Yeah, all right. That's wonderful. Now, have you had a chance to visit the World War II Memorial?
Yes.
And what did you think of it?
I liked it.
You liked it, okay. I would think somebody as interested in World War II might like it quite a bit. All right, well, thank you very much. That was wonderful.
Our next winner, the first place grand prize winner and Virginia State winner, I would like Anand Kalurkan, there we go, please to come back to the stage. She wrote Birdsong Bible by Les Beletsky. And again, we have another grand prize winner from Virginia, so congratulations, Virginia. I should point out also that as here in the Library of Congress, we actually have the letters that are printed up. Once you are able to find the letter, you can follow along. And so you recall that at the beginning, Fred greeted you as young readers and writers. And guess what? You're already writers because we have your permission and we are pleased to be able to have the letters in this booklet. So please go ahead.
Okay. Have you ever played hide and seek with someone who has a beak, 2 wings, and a tiny red crown? I did last September at a nearby park. That experience in the Birdsong Bible changed the way I feel about nature and inspired my love of birds. One day last September, despite my protests, my parents turned off the computer, dragged me down the stairs and out the front door to a small park for a walk. As always, when I was in nature, I felt bored with the bland surroundings. I started kicking around the dirt and stones scattered here and there. Suddenly, there was a rustling in the brush, and a tiny yellowish bird peeked out. It vanished in a flash. I tried to chase the bird as it darted around the park to figure out what it was. Eventually, it disappeared into a shrub. I didn't see it again that visit. When I returned home, I decided to quickly satisfy my curiosity. A friend had given me the Birdsong's Bible, an enormous book I never intended to read. But just this once, I carefully took the book down from the shelf and blew the dust off of it. I flipped through the pages to find a drawing of the elusive creature I had seen, and I played bird calls from the attached audio player. I was shocked to discover how many species he resembled. Just as surprising were the hundreds of birds he did not resemble. I couldn't help appreciating the many colorful, vibrant, and lifelike illustrations of all these birds. Of course, I couldn't figure out what he was that easily. I would return to the park many times with my camera and binoculars to play this game. One second he was posing on a branch. The next he would disappear and then teasing me as if to say, "Can you find me?" or so it seemed. Each time I consulted the book with my blurry pictures, I noticed there was so much interesting information on different species that was astonishing, funny, and even sad. For instance, the Arctic tern migrates over 12,000 miles from the North to South Pole and back again every year. Did you know that the green heron fishes using bread or worms as bait? Hawaii, at one time a tropical paradise, has lost most of its native bird species. I enjoy telling other people about facts like these. One day I pointed my camera into the trees as my frenemy flitted effortlessly through them. Then he stopped and winked at me. I held my breath and took a picture. He let me get a clear, prize-winning photograph of him among the yellow leaves, sweetly peering down at me from the highest branches. In case you're wondering, using the Birdsong's Bible, I identified him as a ruby-crowned kinglet. I checked him off the checklist in the back of the book, and for fun, I decided to check off all the other birds I had seen. I realized how few North American birds I had seen, and I knew I wanted to see more. I urged my parents to take me to parks, gardens, and wildlife refuges. I took my camera and binoculars too. I returned from outings excitedly poring over my bird guide to identify the birds I'd seen, update the checklist, and learn more about the fascinating lives of these beautiful creatures. So far, I have seen and photographed over 90 bird species. My ambition is to explore the hottest desert to the coldest tundra in North America to see all the birds of the Birdsong's Bible. Maybe someday I can save some bird species from extinction. Nature isn't boring after all. It's filled with color and song, my book and a little bird told me.
Well, thank you. That's just a wonderful essay and a perfect example of how books change people. So I'm curious about a couple of things. And where do you usually go birding?
Well, I've been to many places. I mean, we go to parks near our house. Like, there's a place like a mile, maybe half a mile away from our house.
What's the furthest you've gone to go bird watching?
Well, when we take trips, sometimes I go up to Massachusetts. We'll do a birding trip there.
Now, you said that at the time of the essay you had identified or photographed 90 different birds. Have you increased that total lately?
Yeah, I have 97 now.
Okay. All right. Now, how many birds are in the book? I mean, how many birds do you have to go?
I think like 700 something.
So you have quite a job in front of you. All right. One of the things I was curious, do your other friends enjoy birding? Have you gotten friends to go along with you?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How many of them have you taken along?
One or two.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
great. And they're getting interested too?
Yes.
Okay. Well, maybe someday give me a call. I'll like to go along. You make it sound so interesting. Well, thank you very much. Everyone did just a wonderful job.
Well, thank you all very much. This is, again, for someone who promotes reading, for a living, this has really been an inspiring session, and we aren't done yet. Before we give a final thank you to all of our finalists and our readers and our speakers, let me outline what else is in store for you here at the Library of Congress. We're going to have some more photos. Hey, surprise. We're going to have a period of some refreshments. And then we are going to be offering a brief tour to everybody of this most beautiful library building in the world. Before I release you, though, for the refreshments and the tour, we are going to have a group picture in the back of the room of everybody together. It's about the only combination we haven't gotten yet, but that will be good. But I also want to, and what happens will happen after the refreshment period, our guides will appear. These are docent guides who take you around, and everything is color-coded. They will call your groups by the color based on the stickers that you received in the check-in. Now, isn't that clever and tricky? So check your colors. I'll tell you roughly what will happen. This building, I'm going to give you just another 3-minute history lesson to make you appreciate the building a bit. The first Library of Congress was actually in the Capitol. We were created in 1800 when our country was created. The Capitol was still in Philadelphia. And Congress wanted books from the beginning, and so money was appropriated, and the very first Library of Congress was in the Capitol building while it was being built. But the big problem was the British came along and burned the whole thing down in 1814. Thomas Jefferson had been the president during that period, and you all know that he loved books and reading, so he nurtured this little library. So when he read from Monticello that it had been destroyed, he not only was unhappy, he decided to do something about it, and he offered to sell his library, which covered all the subjects that you could imagine, a comprehensive library that included even bird watching, back to the Library of Congress to start again. So we started again in the Capitol, and Jefferson's 6,000 books were in the Capitol and the basis of it, but then there was a fire in the Capitol in 1851, and 2/3 of Jefferson's books were destroyed. After the Civil War, though, the Library of Congress started to build up again and flexed its muscle and wanted to show off American writers and figures, and Congress approved the first separate building for the Library of Congress, and that's because in order to build the collections, a very smart librarian of Congress centralized copyright at the library, which meant we had the right to 2 free copies of not just books and pamphlets, but music and maps and photographs, which later became movies. So what happened was we gradually, because of the collection overflow, had to build this building, which you're going to see. And by then, we were getting proud of America and decided to try to show Europe that our culture was just as good, and to out-Europe Europe by building this building between 1886 and 1897. So when you go outside, you're going to see magnificent marble hallways and lots of really embellishments of paintings and sculpture and quotations. Lots of the quotations are about reading and their importance, and books and their importance. And we started to be happy about American writers, and so way up in some of the ceilings, every once in a while, you'll see a name of an American instead of Shakespeare. Well, Shakespeare is there, but you'll also see James Fenimore Cooper, and others, Americans are in the building. And so we're proud of this building, which indeed did out-Europe Europe and made American culture proud of itself. And it turned out, though, that it was a building that was so open, so popular when it opened in 1897, that 4,700 tourists came the very first holiday just to see how beautiful this building was and to be proud of America and Americans who helped with this building. And so we today are still the library that's both for the Congress, but like Thomas Jefferson wanted, also open to all the American people. And because Congress has okayed all of this expansion, they've also okayed an international role for us, because once the internet came along and we digitized and scanned so many things, our collections are available and our catalogs are available around the world. So when you go out and see this beautiful building, you also will have a chance to see Thomas Jefferson's library. Remember that? I said it was burned when we were in the Capitol, but when we were 200 years old in the year 2000, Dr. Billington, whom I mentioned earlier, decided to help celebrate our 200th birthday, we would recreate Thomas Jefferson's library. And when you'll see it now, it's almost completely recreated in a beautiful space, and so it truly is the intellectual and practical heart of the Library of Congress, because we also use Thomas Jefferson's classification system. Among his other things, he was not only a bird watcher, he was a librarian, and he developed a classification system. So that's, when you go to out in the building, think of that history and think of the history of our country and how proud we are of this national and international institution. Now we're done, but we're going to conclude with another round of applause before you go back for the photo to the back. And let's just say thank you again to our wonderful young writers and readers.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.